woke up in a ditch with my face in the mud and no memory of how I got there. 3 months later, I walked into a coffee shop in the town I used to call home. And that's when I saw them, my husband, holding hands with a woman I'd never seen before. She was wearing my grandmother's ring. When she turned and saw me, her face went white. And she screamed. Not a gasp, a scream, like she'd seen a ghost. Because she had. This is the story of how my inheritance became my death sentence, and how I came back from the dead to take everything back. My name is Elena. I'm 34 years old, and for most of my life I believed in fairy tales. I met Daniel when I was 23. He was 26, charming, ambitious, working in finance. I was a high school art teacher. We met at a gallery opening in Brooklyn. He stood in front of one of my paintings for 10 minutes. When I asked him what he saw, he said, "Someone who feels too much." I married him 6 months later. Everyone said we moved too fast. My mother, my best friend, even my therapist. But I didn't care. Daniel made me feel seen. He listened when I talked about my students, my dreams of opening a community art center, my complicated relationship with my father. He seemed safe. My father died when I was 16. Massive heart attack. No warning. He was a self-made man. Real estate developer, investor, stubborn as hell. After he died, my mother remarried within a year. I never forgave her for that, so I kept my distance. But my grandmother, she was different. Nana Celeste raised me more than my mother ever did. She taught me to paint, to stand up for myself, to never apologize for taking up space. When she was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, I moved back to Vermont to take care of her. Daniel stayed in New York, said his career couldn't handle the move. I should have noticed that he never visited. Nana passed 3 weeks before her 89th birthday. The funeral was small. Daniel showed up late, checked his phone during the eulogy, and left before the reception. 2 days later, the lawyer called. Nana had left me everything. The house, the land, her investment portfolio, a trust fund I didn't even know existed, $11 million. I didn't tell Daniel right away. Something in my gut told me to wait, to see how he'd react, to test him. When I finally told him, his eyes changed. Just for a second, a flicker of something I'd never seen before. Greed. He smiled, kissed me, said, "Baby, this changes everything. We can finally start our life." But he didn't say, "your life." He said, "our life." That night, he started talking about moving back to Vermont, renovating Nana's house, investing the money. He had spreadsheets, plans, timelines. I hadn't even finished grieving and he was already spending her money. I told him I needed time, that I wanted to honor Nana's memory before making big decisions. He said he understood, but 2 weeks later, everything changed. It was a Tuesday, late October. The roads in Vermont get dangerous that time of year. Wet leaves, early frost, black ice. I was driving back from the lawyer's office. We just finalized the estate transfer. The money was officially mine. I remember feeling relieved, like I could finally breathe. I called Daniel from the car. He didn't answer. I tried again. Voicemail. I didn't think much of it. He was probably in a meeting. But then I got a text. "Hey babe, stuck at work, might be late. Love you." Something felt off. Daniel never said babe. He always called me Elle. I was about 10 minutes from home when I noticed the car behind me. Black SUV, tinted windows. It had been following me since I left town. At first I thought I was paranoid, but then it sped up. It got close. Too close. I accelerated. It accelerated. My heart was pounding. I reached for my phone to call 911 and that's when it rammed me. I don't remember much after that. Just spinning. Glass shattering. The airbag exploding into my face. The sound of my own screaming. And then nothing. When I woke up, I was in the woods. My car was 30 feet down an embankment, wrapped around a tree. It was dark. Raining. I couldn't feel my left leg. I tried to move. Pain shot through my ribs. I tasted blood. I reached for my phone. Shattered. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. I genuinely thought I was going to die there. But then I heard footsteps. Someone was walking down the embankment. Slowly. Deliberately. I tried to call out, but my voice wouldn't work. The footsteps stopped, right next to my car, and then they walked away. Whoever it was, they left me there. I don't know how long I laid there. Hours, maybe longer. But eventually, a truck driver saw the skid marks and called it in. I woke up in the hospital 3 days later. Broken leg, fractured ribs, concussion, severe lacerations. The doctor said I was lucky to be alive. But Daniel wasn't there. The nurse said no one had come to see me. No calls, no flowers. I asked for my phone. They said it was destroyed in the crash. When I was finally stable enough to talk, the police came. They asked if I remembered what happened. I told them about the SUV, the ramming, the footsteps. They exchanged a look. The older cop said, "Ma'am, there were no other tire marks, no evidence of another vehicle. The investigation suggests you overcorrected on a turn and lost control." I said, "Someone ran me off the road." He said, "We'll look into it." But I could tell they didn't believe me. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. During that time, I called Daniel. Over and over, voicemail, every time. I called our apartment in New York. Disconnected. I called his office. They said he no longer worked there. It was like he'd vanished. When I was discharged, I had nowhere to go. Nana's house felt too big, too empty, too full of ghosts. So I stayed with a friend from college, Marissa, in Burlington. I didn't tell her everything, just that I'd been in an accident and needed time to recover. She didn't ask questions. For 3 months, I disappeared. I deleted my social media, changed my number. I needed to heal, to think, to figure out what the hell had happened. And then one day, Marissa said she needed to run errands in Stowe, the town where Nana's house was. I went with her. We stopped at a coffee shop, the same one Nana used to take me to when I was little, and that's when I saw him. Daniel, sitting at a corner table, smiling, laughing, with a woman. She was young, maybe 26, blonde, beautiful, and she was wearing my grandmother's sapphire ring. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Marissa grabbed my arm. "Elle, is that?" I nodded. And then the woman turned. She saw me. Her face went from smiling to confused to horrified. And she screamed. Not loud, but sharp, like she'd been stabbed. Daniel's head snapped up. Our eyes met. And for just a second, he looked terrified. Then he stood up, walked over, calm, controlled. He said, "Elena, oh my God, you're alive." Not, "I've been looking for you." Not, "Where have you been?" Just, "You're alive." Like he'd expected something else. I said, "Who is she?" He glanced back at the blonde, who was now crying, hyperventilating. He said, This is Claire, mi fiancée. Fiancée. 3 months. He'd moved on in 3 months. I said, "She's wearing Nana's ring." He hesitated. "You were gone, Elle. No one knew where you were." I thought, "You thought what? That I was dead?" He didn't answer. And that's when I knew. He'd tried to kill me. I didn't confront him there. I couldn't. My hands were shaking too badly. Marissa pulled me out of the coffee shop. We got in the car. She drove. I sat in silence, staring at my hands, trying to process what I'd just seen. Daniel had moved on, rebuilt his life with my inheritance, my grandmother's ring, my money, and he'd done it all thinking I was dead. When we got back to Marissa's, I told her everything. The crash, the SUV, the footsteps, Daniel's disappearance. She said, "We need to call the police." I said, "And tell them what? That my husband got engaged after I disappeared? That's not illegal." But she was right. I needed proof. I hired a private investigator, a woman named Ruth, 60-something, former NYPD, no nonsense. I gave her everything. Dates, phone records, bank statements, the police report from the crash. 2 weeks later, she called me. She said, "You need to sit down. Here's what she found." 3 days before my crash, Daniel took out a $2 million life insurance policy on me. I never signed anything. He forged my signature. The day of the crash, his phone pinged off a cell tower 20 miles from where I was hit. He'd told me he was in New York. He wasn't. And Claire? She wasn't just some random woman. She worked at the law firm that handled Nana's estate. She's the one who told Daniel about the inheritance. Ruth said, "Elena, I think your husband tried to kill you. And I think she helped him plan it." I felt numb, sick, furious, but also vindicated. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't paranoid. They'd tried to murder me for money. Ruth said, "We have enough to go to the police, but you need to be ready. This is going to get ugly." I said, "Good." I went to the state police, filed a report, showed them everything Ruth found. They reopened the crash investigation. Within a week, they found the SUV, registered to a shell company, rented the day before my crash, returned the day after. The name on the rental agreement? Claire Bennett. They arrested her first. She broke in under 2 hours. She said Daniel promised her a life together, that I was in the way, that the crash was supposed to look like an accident. She said she didn't know he was going to leave me there to die, but she did know. Daniel was arrested at the coffee shop, the same one where I'd seen him. Poetic, really. The trial took 8 months. It was brutal. Every detail of my marriage, my trauma, my inheritance picked apart on the stand. Daniel's lawyer tried to paint me as unstable, said I'd faked the crash for attention, that I was bitter about the divorce we never even filed. But the evidence was overwhelming. The forged insurance policy, the phone records, Claire's confession, the rental agreement. In the end, Daniel was sentenced to 18 years for attempted murder, fraud, and conspiracy. Claire got 12. I didn't feel relief. I felt empty. The justice system had worked, technically, but no sentence could give me back what I'd lost. The woman I was before the crash, the ability to trust, the belief that love could be pure. Those things were gone, killed just as surely as if the crash had succeeded. It's been 2 years since the trial ended. I sold Nana's house, too many memories, started over in a small town in Oregon, opened the art center I always dreamed of. I don't paint anymore, but I teach others too. Some days I'm okay. I laugh, I make plans, I feel like myself again. Other days, I can't get out of bed. I see headlights behind me and panic. I hear footsteps and freeze. Betrayal doesn't just break your heart, it fractures your sense of reality. I love Daniel, trusted him, built a life with him, and he tried to erase me, for money. People ask me if I'm angry, if I hate him. Honestly, I don't feel anything for him anymore. He's a stranger, a cautionary tale. But I do think about Claire sometimes, about the scream. She screamed because she thought I was dead, and seeing me alive shattered her entire reality. In that moment, she knew everything was over. I wonder if that's what guilt looks like, or just fear of getting caught. The scream haunts me more than anything else, because in that sound I heard everything. Her horror, her complicity, her realization that the ghost had returned. I've learned a lot about trust, about money, about love. I've learned that people will smile in your face while sharpening the knife behind their back. I've learned that survival isn't just physical, it's emotional, mental, spiritual. And I've learned that coming back from the dead, literally or metaphorically, is the most powerful thing you can do. Because when you survive something designed to destroy you, you become untouchable. Not invincible, but untouchable. There's a difference. Invincibility means nothing can hurt you. Untouchable means you've already survived the worst, so nothing else compares. The inheritance that almost killed me ended up saving my life in a different way. Not because of the money itself, but because it revealed the truth. If Nana hadn't left me that $11 million, I might have spent the rest of my life married to a man who saw me as an asset, a tool, a means to an end. The money was a test I didn't know I was taking, and Daniel failed spectacularly. Sometimes I wonder what Nana would think about all of this. She was a shrewd woman. She'd survived the depression, an abusive first husband, and decades of fighting to be taken seriously in a male-dominated business world. I think she'd be proud that I fought back, that I didn't let them win. The art center opened last spring. It's small, just 3 classrooms and a gallery space, but it's mine. We offer free classes to survivors of domestic violence, trauma survivors, anyone who needs a place to create and heal. On the wall in the main studio, I hung a quote from Nana. Never apologize for taking up space. I see women read it on their first day, and something shifts in their faces. Recognition, permission, power. That's what art gave me, and that's what I want to give others. A way to transform pain into something visible, to take the formless horror of betrayal and trap it on canvas where it can't hurt you anymore. I've been in therapy for 2 years. PTSD, the therapist said, complex trauma. Some nights I still dream about the crash, the spinning, the footsteps, the realization that I was going to die alone in the dark. But the dreams are changing. In the new ones, I crawl out of the car myself. I walk up the embankment. I find my way home. My therapist says that's my subconscious rewriting the narrative, taking back control. I'm learning that healing isn't linear. Some days I feel strong, like I could conquer the world. Other days, a black SUV drives past and I have to pull over and breathe through a panic attack. Both versions of me are real. Both are valid. I haven't dated since Daniel. I'm not sure I ever will. The idea of trusting someone with my heart again feels impossible. like asking me to hand a loaded gun to a stranger. Maybe someday I'll feel differently. Maybe I'll meet someone who makes me believe in safety again. But right now, I'm okay being alone. Actually, I'm more than okay. I'm learning to love it. The silence, the autonomy, the knowledge that no one can betray me if I don't give them access. Is that cynical? Maybe. But it's also survival. And survival is what I do best. Sometimes people recognize me. The trial was public. My face was on the news. Most people are kind. They tell me I'm brave, that I'm an inspiration. I smile and thank them. But inside I think, I'm not brave. I'm just still here. Bravery implies choice. I didn't choose any of this. I just refused to let it kill me. There's a difference. But I understand what they mean. In a world where women are murdered by intimate partners every single day, my survival feels like defiance, like testimony, like proof that sometimes the ghost wins. Claire writes me letters from prison. I don't read them. My lawyer screens them and tells me they're mostly apologies, explanations, justifications. She wants me to understand, to forgive. But I don't owe her that. Forgiveness isn't something she can earn or I can grant like a pardon. It's not a transaction. Maybe someday I'll feel differently. Maybe someday the anger will fade and all that's left will be pity. But today is not that day. Today, she's still the woman who rented the SUV, who helped plan my murder, who wore my grandmother's ring while I was broken and missing and presumed dead. So no, I don't read her letters. Daniel hasn't written. Not once. I think that tells you everything you need to know about who he really is, even in prison, even facing the consequences of his actions. He can't muster genuine remorse. He's not sorry for what he did. He's sorry he got caught. There's a particular kind of narcissism required to try to murder your wife for money, a profound emptiness, an inability to see other people as fully human. I didn't see it when I married him. Or maybe I did and I made excuses. He's ambitious. He's focused. He's driven, all true. But also he's hollow. And hollow people will do anything to fill themselves up, even if it means draining someone else completely. The $11 million sits in a trust now, managed by people I vetted carefully. I live modestly. The art center is funded. The rest is invested. Someday, when I'm gone, it'll go to organizations that support survivors. That was always Nana's legacy, really. Not the money itself, but what it could become. She pulled herself up from nothing. Survived horrors I'll never fully understand. And she wanted me to have options. Freedom, safety. The crash tried to take that away, but it failed. I'm still here. The money is still here, and it's doing exactly what she intended, creating space for people to heal. So if you're watching this and you've been betrayed, know this. You are not broken. You are not stupid. You are not weak. You are a survivor. And that means something. It means you looked into the abyss and it blinked first. It means you carry weight that would crush other people, and you're still standing. Maybe barely. Maybe you're on your knees. But you're still here. And that is enough. You don't have to forgive. You don't have to move on. You don't have to be an inspiration. You just have to keep breathing. One breath, then another, until one day you realize you've built an entire life out of those breaths. Before I go, I want to leave you with one question. If you inherited a fortune tomorrow, who in your life would you trust with that information? Really think about it. Not who you want to trust. Not who you think you should trust, but who you actually trust. Because the people closest to you can become the most dangerous. Not always, not even usually, but sometimes, and that possibility, that tiny crack of doubt, is the cost of betrayal. It doesn't just destroy one relationship. It poisons every relationship that comes after. That's the real theft, not the money, not even the attempted murder, but the ability to trust without fear. My name is Elena. I survived a crash, a betrayal, a murder plot, and I'm still here. I'm still taking up space. I'm still teaching women to paint their pain into something beautiful. I'm still driving down dark roads, even though sometimes my hands shake on the wheel. I'm still here, and that's my revenge. Not the trial. Not the prison sentences, but this, my continued existence. My refusal to disappear. My insistence on living loudly and visibly and unapologetically. Because they tried to erase me and I came back louder. They tried to silence me, and I'm telling my story to anyone who'll listen. They tried to kill me, and I'm more alive now than I ever was before. Sometimes the ghosts come back, and sometimes they win.